See if I can get on here, make sure everything. Sorry, I'm coming on so seems to be getting later and later. Um, but it can't be helped because so much information is coming in. Um, and you see all the action. I mean, if Belen Rocha is going to try to bully and intimidate and things are really happening behind the scenes. Um, and I'll be addressing that. It's just there's so much, and um, you know, we're focused on Conal Whetten. We're focused on Leilani Hart, Dallas Hart, but Conal Whetten is a really he's he's very important in all of this. And Manny Chavira, these are individuals that hurt many people, many people, and that's why we're focused on them. So and this declaration of war against the FTOs, the cartel, right? The FTOs. So let's get started here. Okay, I can see everything. It is September 4th, 2025, and we are at day 1859, I believe, right? Let's see. Make sure. 1859. And so, I was told that when we decide to name the book that we're writing, we should call it 3,000. It takes 3,000 letters. And I thought that was pretty clever, right? It takes 3,000 letters. Um, yeah. And just to let everyone know that on this day, 1,859 days since Richard was forcibly removed from the barracks and his life was taken, brutally taken. And if Belen Rocha wants to write a report, we'll be very happy about that. Because we've been doing well, it takes about 3,000 letters to we need to count these up, all the letters. So we have been working. The whole point of that is to let everyone know that it's not all about the keyboard warrior, even though this is very, very important. Don't let anyone tell you that being a keyboard warrior isn't important. It is very important. And the opposition pays millions of dollars, maybe more than that, to fund keyboard warriors for them. Okay, so it is very important to be a keyboard warrior, to share and to express the truth that is happening around you. Um, and so, our work that we've done, it wasn't just about, our many 4 months of rallying, and more, and more, 4 to 6 times a week to gather evidence. Going to January 6th, of course, we did, to pass out prayer candles and flyers and talk to many people that were there. There was like 1 million people there. That's why all the news stories, the narrative is so absurd, because if that group of people wanted to take over the Capitol, like the news media tries to portray, there would have been no competition. You have 1 million people there, and they were just amazing people. They were very law-abiding people, And of course, there were infiltrators. Of course, there were people that were up to no good. But you're talking about 1 million people, and of course there were agents there, right? Agents paid. How many? There were hundreds, hundreds of them. And I know there were because I was there. I was there. I witnessed it. I witnessed what they were doing. I witnessed the entrapment. We left early because we witnessed that. We were um, tear gas. We were tear gas for saying the Lord's Prayer. I mean, anybody that's tear gas for saying the Lord's Prayer on a bullhorn, you know that there are bad operatives there that are up to no good. That's an entrapment, and go back to your bus. Go back to your bus. Um, but it was just 1 million people, so not everyone saw it, and anyway, we were there to give the flyers out, to collect evidence, and we did. We collected a lot of evidence, a lot of information. And so through these 5 years, we have just um, uh, investigated, identified the crimes, identified those that were engaged in the crimes, documented it, and filed it. We filed it. Not in well, we do. We file it here at home too, but we filed it with multiple agencies and institutions. If you go to the Texas uh, legislature, they absolutely know who we are. If you go to um, the Texas judges, they know who we are. If you go to any kind of law school in this country, they know who we are. If you go to the DA's office, they know who we are. If you go to the El Paso criminal law magistrate court, they absolutely know who we are. The county clerk, Delia Briones, her and her office, they know who we are. The DPS, all those agencies that were involved at the beginning, 22 agencies, they know who we are. The Mayellas, they know who we are. Um, so you can't go anywhere in El Paso on the border without running into, uh, the Fort Bliss whistleblower soldier Richard Halliday's family. They exposed that. That is a truth that no one can deny, and we have the hard evidence to prove that, to confirm that. And Conal Whetten, and of course Eddie Nieto Jr., Jesus Eddie Nieto Jr., and then also Torres, right? Agent Torres. We've exposed them and their connections. And Conal went in the FBI field office there in El Paso, and that they're up to no good. And they absolutely protect criminals. They protect criminals. They protect the cartel operations. There is no doubt about it. And Conal Whetten is very important because he is the Mormon inside man, right? He's the Mormon inside man protecting those in the Mormon community that are committing crimes. Convicted criminal Leilani Hart is a perfect example. Why hasn't she? I've been asked over and over again, why hasn't she been arrested yet? Well, now you know why. You have the infiltration, because this is aiding and abetting cartel, right? The infiltration in our institutions is very deep, and they will tamper with and delete, whitewash, fabricate documents, and then they have the likes of Delia Briones, who is absolutely tied to the cartels, that she will do the fake seals, the fake stamps that, remember in Montoya's case, it's a 2028 stamp. She got sloppy there, or someone in her office got very sloppy, and nervous. So, but Conal Whetten is really, he's a bigger fish, in all of this, with Delia Briones, because of they can tamper with files, they can fabricate files, they can delete files, they can all of that. And don't forget that Michael Mayella Jr. was working in that office. Okay. And he is a trained cyber tech. And so this is very important development in this case, with so many other developments. Um, and so there's no more VIP treatment and protection. I really believe that the Mormon community, which includes, um, which includes Belen Rocha, right? Which includes the 3905 Danae Katz and family, the Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, Leilani Hart. So this criminal group, they had, for those that were in the Mormon community that were part of this cartel operation, they had a VIP protection in the FBI field office there in El Paso, and his name was Conal Whetten. Now that's been confirmed to us, and we're convinced, and well, it was it's been confirmed, so we can put that out there. Now the investigation going, and so now Leilani Hart needs to be arrested, right? I mean, that's and you can see that there is they know it. They know that accountability is here now. Um, so that's really important for everyone to know that the FBI field office has been exposed for their unlawful activity to, protect so many of these individuals that are in this group. And a lot of them are from the Mormon community, and they're very criminal, and they're definitely engaged with the cartel. And it really is very very clear, their activities. And now, over on the Juarez side, you have um, a whole police force being their weapons being apprehended, uh, because of those were our cartel weapons that their licenses had expired. They were getting their weapons from the cartel, and they were serving the cartel, and the cartel ran the entire police force. And you saw that with Delta One. Remember Delta One? He was the cartel leader that ran the tunnels. He was the tunnel cartel. And I posted that up just a few minutes ago, and in an article, explaining this whole situation so that people know the truth, because there's just vague truths out there. Most of it is just very misleading information. And this Delta One, he was killed, along with his two security guards that were on the police force. Okay, so here he is, a cartel guy. They're using taxpayer funds to run the police, to use them as security. And you can tell that all those protections, just like in the United States, in El Paso, the protection is just fading away so fast. It's like, you know, uh, y- you can well, Delta One is no longer here. He was killed, and that exposed the whole tunnel operation, right? Because there's been the finding of the tunnel, and then that there was a cartel operative, I guess a boss, a cartel boss, um, that Delta One that was in charge of the operation of these tunnels that are connected to El Paso ISD that run into the United States from Mexico that go underground from Mexico to El Paso, and some of those tunnels run underneath El Paso ISD schools or near those schools, and it's very serious because of our son's death. Um, you see that infiltrated into the United States and infiltrated onto our military installation. And this is a huge security breach. And that's why President Trump has no choice. This is his job as the president of the United States. If he didn't do answer to this breach of national security and unsecured border situation with tunnels and all of the criminal trafficking that really caused the death of a U.S. Army soldier and many more, because the report came out that there's 21 Americans that are missing in Juarez. 21 Americans. So, this is not only about Richard Halliday, but he's the linchpin. He's the linchpin for all of this. And of course, President Trump has to be president. He has to secure. Now, Biden wasn't in the right mind. Biden was being led by those that were thieves, really were thieves with the U.S. aid, were aiding and abetting the cartels, absolutely aiding and abetting the cartels. And so you saw 4 years of that. But now you have a president that takes his job seriously, takes the securing the United States seriously, wanting to stop the cartels and their criminal trafficking, absolutely takes that seriously. And so yesterday, Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, was in Mexico with President Scheinbaum and really declaring war on the cartels, on the FTOs. And then you also saw while he was there, he showed that he declared war because they bombed the cart with 11 cartel members in there that were trafficking substances. And that would be very, very harmful and would even end up killing people. And so, very clearly, the message was, this is a declaration of war against the cartels. And then, of course, you had this article coming out today where they went in and seized an entire police force that were compromised by the cartel, that were using cartel weapons, and seized them and closed them down. So this is, the Trump effect, right? This is the Trump effect um, of wanting to get serious with security for the person that, is trying to just live an honest life, right? So Leilani Hart um, is one of those that need to be deported. She needs to be arrested and deported. She needs to be held accountable. I'll let the authorities uh, figure out how they can hold her to the highest account, because it needs to be the highest account. Um, and and why is this so important? Because she collaborated with Bob Moore. She absolutely knows Bob Moore of El Paso Matters. El Paso Matters is funded, ran by the board of directors of El Paso Community Foundation, which is Woody Hunt, right? Which is Woody Hunt and others. Um, so uh, El Paso Matters is a big deal. And Bob Moore is up to no good in collaborating with Leilani Hart. Why is this important? Well, Leilani Hart is a prime suspect in the murder of our son, who's a U.S. Army soldier, right? Whistleblower soldier. And she was reported and identified as a prime suspect by whistleblower uh, Judge Roger Rodriguez. And so, Bob Moore uh, being confirmed to have in 2000, as early as 2019, targeted Richard Halliday to fabricate a fake story to entrap him into a bad situation, which it didn't work, right? So that they could create a bad story on Richard. And they falsely did it anyway. Um, but they were entrapping him. Why? To discredit him as a whistleblower, to make whatever he said in his reports to not hold any weight, you see, in the court of law. They had to try to discredit him. And it wasn't working. It didn't work. Um, and Bob Moore was part of that. Bob Moore was part of that group that did that. And here he knows that um, Leilani Hart is a prime suspect, and he collaborates with her to create a fake story, a false story, to attack the whistleblower in our son's case. Not only our son, but also another whistleblower in our son's case. The very whistleblower, Judge Roger Rodriguez, that named Leilani Hart, identified her as a prime suspect in the case. So think about that. The very person being identified as a prime suspect is now being used as a unreliable source by a disgraceful and biased and retaliatory Bob Moore of El Paso Matters to create a fake piece to attack not only Richard, but also the whistleblower in Richard Halliday's murder. And so this is, you can't make that stuff up. She needs to be totally arrested. It is just, I know you're going to have to probably hit backwards just to listen to that kind of connection, what happened there, to understand it and how serious this is. Um, to address Belen Rocha coming on today, I just want, she needs to understand this, that it was Marlon Soto, and I think that this could be illegal, that or against regulations or something, that it was Marlon Soto that identified her as a lady of the night, of a prostitute. Am I allowed to say that word? Um, uh, that she would sell herself, um, you know, uh, in the worst kind of way. That was not us. That was Marlon Soto that told us that. Okay. And I think that that's illegal. And then it was Belen Rocha herself who posted up her stripping career online. And then if that wasn't enough, and we have tons of pictures and videos and everything of that, um, if that wasn't enough, her, other curricular activities, extracurricular activities, uh, some of these people have no sense at all, these men, and they post pictures of her in very uh, risky situations. They just post that online. They just post it. It's not even on a dark web or anything. They just post it online on social media. And so when all of this was going on at the beginning, and of course we know that she's up to no good, all of this was being sent to us, and it was, you know, um, absolutely, we corroborated it. So she's the one that does the pole dancing. She's the one that is connected to Danae Katzen, a criminal fugitive, and Jonathan Ambrose, 3905 Bliss Avenue. She's the one that's connected to the Mormon community. She's the one, that's been protected by the likes of Conal Whetten. Um, and, you just have to look at her record to see that. Um, so, anyone that's in this Mormon community, so we've confirmed and, um, have this VIP status. And if you're a criminal, you get this VIP status. And we're sick of it. We're sick of when I say we're, I think Americans are so sick of criminals getting a VIP status to continue their criminality and hurt so many, right? To hurt so many in all the kinds of criminal activity that they do. So that is really, really important for everyone to know that it's a great thing to be a keyboard warrior, to meaning to share all the news that we're sharing with you, to make sure that everyone knows that um, it was CID agent Marlon Soto that said the worst things about Belen Rocha, and that she's up to no good. And we know that. We know that because 5 years later, when Dreams Cabaret is coming into the play of all of this, and Leilani Hart, but even Conal Whetten is coming into all of this, and they're losing their VIP status, that they know accountability is coming. And when accountability is coming and they see it coming, they have to try to respond. They have to gnash their teeth. They have to try to, then they start crying when accountability comes for all the evil that they've done. So, so yeah, this is I hope I answered a lot of questions because there's so much going on behind the scenes, and there is a huge difference being made in Mexico as well, because they're Siamese sisters, right? When you have all these tunnels, and there's so many of them, when you have all these tunnels that connect, and then you have all the family, that connects, you have so much history that connects us. So it's the Trump effect. A lot of good things are happening. The whole takedown of a cartel police force on the taxpayer dime, or the taxpayer peso, and Mexico. And then, of course, you see all of this happening in the United States. And I think that it's going to get a little rough, because you're talking about a very dug in cartel FTO, okay? A very dug in cartel FTO. And so, this is, we just need to be very, very grateful that we have President Trump, that he is willing to do this very, very hard work. This is absolute labor, right? A labor of love for your country. Because it's you get bullied, you get intimidated, I mean, they try to anyway. You get harassed over and over again. You get death threats. You get all kinds of stuff. So this is absolutely a love for our country, and um, um, we're very hopeful uh, to get Richard's remains. Okay, we're very, very hopeful. So I just want to thank everyone, and I will be back tomorrow, God willing. Bye bye.